Greetings, Patrick here, and welcome to BoobTube Retro Jam. That's a mouthful. I'm still getting used to it. This is our new series where we are taking a look at TV shows that are in the collection. We're not doing one particular series all the way down. We are just whatever strikes our fancy. So today I thought I'd share an episode for one of my very favorite shows. I love this show a lot. All of them, actually. All the ones at least I got to see. There's a couple I have not, but the series and the spinoffs is CSI Crime Scene Investigation, and this is the OG. This is the original. This is the original series that everything else spun out of. Terrific show, absolutely terrific. So I decided to pull the episode out of season 7, episode 23. Now, again, it's like, why are we doing that on the show? Why not the first episode? It doesn't work that way for me. I like to watch them in order, but I like to highlight in this series just one specific episode that means something. So the episodes, a little bit of background in this season. This is the season that it started off in season 6, and they had what they call a big bad, and it was called the Miniature Killer. And what this person would do, he builds sets, miniature sets of crimes or murders that he was committing. And it started in season 6, and it carried over to season 7. Actually, I want to say it kept on going. I don't think they solved it in season 7 either. But the episode that we're talking about only has a little bit of glimpse of that arc. Season 23, episode 23 does bring back a familiar face to those who are into CSI. The title of the episode is "The Good, the Bad, and the Dominatrix," and of course, those who watch CSI will know instantly that means Heather, Lady Heather. Lady Heather was played by Melinda Clark, and she's a dominatrix. And her and Grissom hooked up and were a bit of a couple. I mean, they had an arrangement. It's going to sound really funny, but this is absolute truth, that Grissom was in love with her mind. Lady Heather was a terrific character. Melinda Clark was the perfect actress to play it. Cannot think of anybody who could play Lady Heather any better than Melinda Clark did. I think that's one of the reasons why she was a very popular character. I think the reason why we didn't see her that much was because the big, they really wanted to get Sarah and Grissom together. That was the whole thing like Grissom couldn't, neither one could really admit to each other their feelings for each other. And, so it was that won't they, will they? It dragged on. Not dragged so much, but that was the arc, that they got closer with every season. And of course, sometimes, like in this episode, sometimes one hears things that one doesn't really necessarily want to hear. So the story, of course, the cast is stellar. CSI cast. If you're into supporting cast, this show had it all. Had William Petersen playing Gail Grissom. Mark Helgenberger played Catherine Willows. George Eads played Nick Stokes. Gary Jordan played Warwick Brown. And I think his character of Warwick, I think he gets killed the next season. And I gotta tell you, that in itself will be covered. I can tell you that right now. That was sad. It was sad how it happened. Really sad. But there's some good news at the end of the tunnel. Gary Jordan, while his character, he had to die. They had to kill him off because they had to get Gary Jordan some help. He had some really, really bad personal problems, and it was affecting his work. and they had to let him go. So they killed off his character. And that really, as a Warwick fan, I was devastated when I watched it because I wasn't expecting that. Man, I was just, wow, I was blown away. Uh, Georgia Fox plays Sarah Seidel. Eric Zemanis played Greg Sanders. Luis Lombard played a CSI named Sophia Curtis. And Luis Lombard is really interesting all in herself, is because it really seemed like CBS really wanted to work with her. She was up for JAG. She was up for JAG, and they didn't happen because she looked too much like the first actress, Tracy Needham. She looked too much like her, so she lost out on the role there. They put Catherine Bell there, but they thought highly of Louise Lombard to cast her. She was cast in a recurring role in NCIS. That didn't work out. Her while she did appear as a character, she appeared as a character in CSI or NCIS, and then she was killed later on in the show. We didn't see it, but we heard about it. So her character got killed. And of course, here they put her in CSI, and she played a recurring character, but she only played one season, and that was season 7. Right? Of course, we've seen Louise Lombard here before on the channel when we watched and reviewed Hidalgo. She played a lovely temptress in Hidalgo with Viggo Mortensen. Let's see, and Paul Guilfoyle played Captain Jim Brass. Absolutely, Jim Brass was just they picked the perfect last name for him. Captain Brass was a badass. Always had the CSI's backs. Not when he needed to. Some things he didn't agree with them for, like he definitely did not like Lady Heather, as we'll talk about here in a minute. He did not like her, and it put him a little bit at odds with Grissom because Grissom liked her a lot, a great deal, and so he thought the world of Grissom, but he always thought that Lady Heather was his chink in the armor. And again, William Wallace played David Hodges, and Robert David Hall played the Chief ME. And some of you may know, but he had lost his legs. He was a double leg amputation below his knees. Now he has prosthetics on his, and in real life, Robert David Hall had no legs from the knees down, and he used prosthetics. But he didn't he made him a fine actor. He's still a great actor, awesome Emmy, great portrayal, and not the first show we've seen with an actor working with a handicap like that. I don't know if that's even the right word. And that was played lifeguard. Jim Burns played lifeguard in Wise Guy with Jonathan Banks and Ken Wall and Anthony Dennison. So we had guest stars in this show too, and of course the rule of thumb with the guest stars in CSI is pretty much for a lot of times for any TV show, and that is the biggest guest star's name is always the one that does it. And the big guest star's name was Joe Penny. Joe Penny, he was the big bad, and many of you might not know Joe Penny's name, but he played in 2 series that were well regarded when they played. One only got a couple of, maybe 2 or 3 seasons, and he played with Perry King and Tom Bray in Riptide. And then he starred with William Conrad, who was the voice of Matt Dillon in Gunsmoke, and who was the main bad guy that got Paladin his start, and that would be William Conrad. And they played in a show called Jake and the Fat Man. William Conrad played he played the Sherlock Holmes type of mastermind, and then Joe Penny was his muscle, so to speak. So we got all our players. And let's talk a little bit about the episode. So the show opens up. It looks like to be like a Westworld type of amusement park, cowboys and saloon, and it's dark. It's the rain is falling, and it's but it's in the middle of the night, and we go and the camera walks in, and we see the cowboy coming in, um, and then we see Lady Heather's by a piano, and she turns to his voice when she's spoken to, when he says, when he speaks to her, she turns and she's looking spectacular. And then as she is a dominatrix, she is the one that normally is always in control, but not this episode, because the cowboy is, and he's choking her, and generally when in that kind of a dominant domination, you're supposed to have a safe word. And we know that the woman there doing it, Lady Heather, doesn't seem to get a chance to use her safe word, and she passes out. And luckily, someone calls the police. They roll out, and they think she's been assaulted. Of course, Brass is there with his smart ass remarks. Not very well welcomed here. I got to tell you, his mouth was running a little bit, hot and heavy in this episode. His dislike for Lady Heather is crystal clear. But Catherine Willows knows her. He has met her before, and she mentions that to Lady Heather as she's sitting laying down on a stretcher, and so they start investigating. Now, CSI generally had 2 cases every episode, and every episode had 2 cases. They had a main one, and they had like a secondary one. Sometimes when they had a big bad like the miniature killer, they had a little bit of story time for that to advance it, because even though this episode is considered a standalone episode, you still wanted to see that we're still going toward that. We haven't forgotten that. So in fact, that's where we see Grissom early in this episode. That's what he's working on. So she gets transported to the hospital. She says she doesn't know anything and know anybody. She's got some nasty rope ligatures on her neck, and so she gets transferred to the hospital. Catherine and Sarah begin to break down the crime scene. And then we see Grissom back at headquarters, and he's telling Eric that he needs to go ahead and work some days because they're shorthanded. And so he says no problem. So he does that. And then we meet the secondary case. The secondary case pretty much always paired Warwick and Nick together. They were terrific together. They're good pairing. And in this case, they get a girl who's been hit in the, looks like be hit by a car, hit by what? And she's there, and we find out that she turns out to be they don't know who she is at first because she has so many IDs in her purse, and so they have to go through them and try to find out who she is. And once they do, they find out this young lady had a really bad habit of kleptomania, and she would just steal to steal. And when they open up her purse, there's everything you can think of in a purse, and including a can of tuna fish. So she's stolen a can of tuna fish. Maybe she was hungry later. Maybe she had a cat. Anyway, either way, she wasn't going to go home to eat it. So Nick and Warwick start to investigate, and Warwick starts doing some secondary investigation, and then a car comes around the corner, and looks like 2 guys maybe had a little too much to drink. They hit the cop car that's protecting the crime scene, and so Nick and the officer help the 2 guys out. But in the accident, they find out that the cab that they're looking at has paint jobs, has scraped away paint. It wasn't always a black and yellow cab. There's other colors underneath. So they're going like, well, that's interesting. Whoever hit the car, they left chips behind too. So they're investigating that to find out who, like how this girl died. For one thing, she was not in the cab when she got hit. She wasn't hit by a car. How in the hell did she die? So that's their investigation. Um, as far as back with Lady Heather, Grissom comes and sees her, and he knows her really well enough that like he notices that she's having a diabetic incident, and and he calls for help. He goes, and something's just not right there. He says, well, why didn't she? Because the nurse comes in there and he tells her, he says, diabetic shock. He says, well, she never said anything to us. And so Grissom's like, something's just not there. So he goes ahead and and then Lady Heather, she finds, we find out later on that she checked herself out of the hospital. Sarah and Catherine go back to the amusement park, the Western. It looks like Westworld. Goes back to Westworld, and yeah, we find a father and son there, and they own the place, and they're not very nice people at all. Um, and so yeah, crazy. So they start their investigation. They find that out that one of them had been having some fun. Uh, Catherine finds out they've been having fun, but it turns out not to be Lady Heather. They were there. The father and son had been using the Westworld as their private playground after hours. Of course, and of course, when they go back to go talk to them, they find that the police, the security guard who had helped them out the night before, the night when they found Lady Heather, well, he'd been killed. He'd been killed, and so they're like, okay, what the hell happened? Um, and we start putting the pieces together a little bit for the young lady that got killed. They find out that it was not a normal car that hit them; it was another cab that hit them, and they find the cab that had, and it turns out that it was from a immigrant. I know, right? Believe me, when I saw the thread, I was like, well, what happened was the guy was hit by the girl was hit by an immigrant by another cab driver. Like there are two different cab drivers, and one was staging, which is they go inside another cab's territory, and they put themselves between the cab and where most of the business is going to be at. They know these things. So whenever they get a call, the intruding cab would be the first there, basically robbing the other cab. It's not ethical. But they both work for the same cab company, and so of course when they had words, and so when the other guy had picked up the girl, the immigrant had picked up the girl. And the American or the American guy slams in the back of the guy's car, and the girl, she had gotten out to run away because she had stolen the first cab driver's wallet, kleptomania. Uh, she had tripped. She tripped, and when she tripped at the same time that the car got rear-ended. So she got hit in the head by tripping. As she was tripping, she got hit in the head, and that's what killed her. It's a unique way. It's like that's some shit right there, because they couldn't figure out how it happened, because she hadn't been hit by a car, and there's no way. I was like, the only thing there was like, okay, she got hit by a cab, but how? Who did this? Like, how did this happen? And then they find out. Warwick and Nick find out And Nick, it's sort of sad that he had, he's putting the squeeze on the immigrant cab driver, like what really happened. And but because he had really dragged his feet instead of coming straight forward right away, he had tried to lie his way out several different ways. And by the time he finally told the truth, he had buried himself so deep that he was going to be arrested for it. He's going to be arrested for the accessory to the hit to the murder and some other charges. And it was sad because he had just said the truth. He wouldn't have gotten in any trouble at all. It would have been he was just a victim. He was a victim too, but because he kept quiet and listened to the other cab driver, who said, don't tell any if you don't tell anybody I was trying to steal your fares, I won't tell anybody how you hit the girl. And if he had just come out and been straight with it, he would have been driving home to his family that night in this country. But so we go back to the Lady Heather case, and Grissom is it's bothering him. It's bothering him is that he knows something's going on. And so he does a little tracking too, and he figures out what Heather's trying to do. I won't say that here, but I'm going to put something down in the description box to let you know what it was. What she was trying, in earlier episodes, she had found her daughter. Her daughter had died, and she left a granddaughter, and Lady Heather attempted to get visitation rights to see her granddaughter, but because of her profession, the court said no. So that has set Lady Heather in a not so good place. And Grissom has, he came over to talk to her, and he's figured it out, and he takes steps to rectify the situation, and he does. And it's a very sad episode in that respect. The Lady Heather episode is super sad. I won't lie to you. I haven't seen that episode in a long time, but I saw it, and man, I could relate. I could relate. Terrific performances by everybody. Really enjoyed this episode quite a bit. Everybody on the whole team. This is the kind of episodes I really like, where everybody's involved in the cases, not just four, maybe with one other support person. They include everybody, and these make these episodes just fly. They just fly. And we still got our little pass over to the next, to the miniature killer. I do believe they solved it in season 8, because this is the last season. This is episode 23 out of 24 in season 7. Of course, this is back then where TV did seasons of 22 to 24 episodes. It was generally 24, 22, but if your ratings were really high, the network would reach out, say, can you do a couple more? And so sometimes when you see that, if you see it on some of your DVD episodes or TV series episodes, Blu-ray or DVD, you'll notice sometimes a popular show will have extra episodes. That's because it was doing really well in the ratings. All right. Now, of course, CSI not only did the main one ran for 15 years, plus it did one of those 10 episodes revival shows, which I don't understand that at all. I truly don't understand that at all. It's like if you're gonna redo a series or relaunch it, give it at least 15 episodes and give it at least 2 seasons, more likely 3. Just doing one 10 episode season, that just doesn't do anything for anybody. I really do miss the days where we had shows with 22 to 24 episodes. It gives you time to get into the show, and more importantly, you don't have to wait that long for the next season. When you do 10 episodes like they did, it's 10 episodes, and then you're sitting there and then you're asking the audience in today's world, you're asking an audience to Oh, come back in almost a year. I yeah, not a good thing. This also spun off to CSS Miami, which say David Caruso's career, and Horatio Kane is a badass. Um, they had that's a great show too. CSS Miami was consistently great. Then you had CSI New York with Gary Sinise. That was a little bit more gritty. Um, then you had CSI Cyber, and that was with Patricia Arquette for the first year, and then Ted Danson, who got his start on the CSI here. He went from CSI after the show ended. They took his character and moved him to CSI Cyber, and I believe he was there for 2 seasons because I think CSS Cyber only ran for 3. All these shows are just great. I'm still looking for CSS Cyber. I have not seen any. Um, Actually, I have a few Miami. I have a few New York. So we'll probably be visiting them sometime in the future. And we can rest assured we will be back to CSI. Um, yeah, I thought the writing was really good. Let's touch about a little bit behind the scenes because I got to go ahead and do that as well. So behind the scenes, they had a lot of different writers. The show was created by Anthony Zucker. He was a writer. He's written some novels, and he came up with the idea of CSI. And then, of course, everybody else has to, they have to. You have to hire good writers. CSI was not. If you were just a hack and you were just submitting a screenplay, you weren't going to get seen. I mean, you just weren't. You had to know your shit. And directors too. If you're just going to walk on there and just say, yeah, okay, I'm doing episodic TV. I know pretty much what to do. You weren't gonna last there either. Uh, you had to come in with a good direction, which Alex Smite, who directed this episode, did a did a hell of a job here. One of the best. And this episode was written by Jacqueline Hoyt. And Jacqueline Hoyt also was a fine writer as well. And what I mean about directors, not just any directors got in there. In fact, many of you know of my not so much love for Quentin Tarantino, but my second favorite thing I've ever saw him direct after Kill Bill 1, he directed a 2-part CSI, and that was fucking awesome. I'm just like, wow, how come that can't happen every time he does a movie? How come he can't come with a good original idea like that? Um, just a terrific episode. It featured Nick, and it was just absolutely amazing episode. And so all the writers from CSI and directors, they were top of the line. Um, Sometimes, I mean, after Warwick passed away, his character passed away, and then when Grissom left, I'll be honest with you. Some of the directions of the show remained great, but not maybe just like a half a step or its full step behind when they had the original cast and crew. When William Petersen left and Georgia Fox left. I mean, they started leaving a little bit, and then and it was or in my case, one of the things that really bothered me was when Grissom left, they got Lawrence Fishburne. I didn't think they'd miss a beat, not a beat at all. Could be wrong. I'll probably end up coming back and do an episode with Lawrence Fishburne, and I'll get into more detail about what I think happened there. But for now, the good, the bad, and the dominatrix, one of the best episodes, one of my favorites. And like I said, Melinda Clark was absolutely perfect as Lady Heather. All right, that is it for this episode. Tell me, are you a big CSI fan? Did you have a favorite episode, favorite character, favorite story arc? Drop it down. Let us know. I'd like to know. Did you like us covering the show? Did it catch your attention? In other words, did I put you to sleep? All right. Well, hopefully not. And if not, well, we hope to see you again soon. So give us a sub, drop us a like, leave a comment behind. We'll see you for the next time here on uh, BoobTube Retro Jam. Peace. Now, this is the fun part.